FlyLady is one of the best known cleaning routines out there. But is it the best? I have thoughts. Some of them are genuinely enthusiastic. Some of them are a little more complicated, but all of them are honest, which is more than I can say for most cleaning advice on the internet. In case you haven't heard of her, FlyLady is a cleaning and home management system created by Marla Silly. I think I'm saying that right. And it's been around for decades, has developed a following in the millions, and has genuinely changed how a lot of people think about their homes. FLY stands for Finally Loving Yourself, which tells you immediately that this is not just a cleaning system, it's a philosophy. And the whole premise is that you take care of your home because you love yourself and your family, not as a punishment or as proof that you're a good person, and because somebody is coming over and that you're panicking. Now, her term for the state that most people start in is chaos, which stands for can't have anyone over syndrome. Now, if you've ever done a frantic 5, 10, 20-minute tidy before somebody texted that they were stopping by, you know exactly what she means. So the philosophy alone is worth the price of admission, and the price of admission is free, which makes it even better. Here is how it all fits together. And I need to explain this before I get to the individual pieces because it will help us to understand how the whole system is supposed to work as a whole. Because FlyLady is not a simple routine, not a bad routine. It's just not simple. It is a full home management system with a specific order of operations, and understanding that order is actually the key to making it work. So don't get overwhelmed. Make sure you watch all of this so you can understand the whole system to see if it is for you and how it works together. Here's how the pieces stack. So first we begin with the 31 baby steps, which is a gradual introduction to the system, one habit at a time, each day for 31 days. From there, we are going to establish a simple before bed routine and a morning routine, which are two of my favorite things for anybody to have in general. So love that it's part of the FlyLady system. Then there's an afternoon routine where it's helpful. Okay, so 3 routines a day. Then we're adding in daily maintenance habits, a weekly home blessing, then zone work with daily missions. The whole thing gets recorded into something called a control journal, and a basic weekly plan gives recurring jobs a designated day so they don't all pile up on Saturday. That is a lot, and FlyLady knows it's a lot, which is why she specifically tells us beginners not to worry about zone cleaning or detailed cleaning until the basic morning and evening routines are established. And we are going to start with the foundation. Everything else comes later. And this is good advice for cleaning systems, and also most things in life that we consistently refuse to do in right order, it's best if we do. So I love it. It does often get ignored quite often by people. And what I really do like though about her, sort of after you move past like those routines, is then you dive into the zones and the missions and the control journal. But a lot of times people will do that before they start setting up the habits, and oh boy, do we ever have problems if we do it that way. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about the language. FlyLady actually has her own vocabulary, but once you know it, everything makes more sense. I'm not going to get into everything because some of it gets kind of explained along the way. Now, a fly baby is somebody who is just starting the system. The hot spot is a flat surface where clutter naturally collects. The dining room table, the chair in the bedroom that has never been used for sitting, a spot at the front door. Now, a hotspot fire drill is a 2-minute session clearing that surface before the pile spreads. Mount Washmore is accumulated laundry, and if you've ever had a pile of laundry that has developed its own ecosystem, you have Mount Washmore. And crash and burn is what happens when you do too much, you exhaust yourself, and you quit entirely. And I think we can all relate to that one. Now, the 31 baby steps, which are how the FlyLady introduces the system one piece at a time, over 31 days. And this is one of the things that I really like about her approach. So step one of the baby steps is to shine the sink. And we will get more into that in a minute because it makes my heart a flutter, but not in a bad way. I love it. Step two is to get dressed, to lace up your shoes, to fix your hair and your face. And her reasoning is that by being fully dressed, it puts you in an active, ready for the day kind of mode. And I think that is so helpful when a lot of us are just not really used to that. Quick aside, I want to touch on real quick here. Now, people have said to me, don't wear shoes in your house because I'm wearing these. Well, these are my indoor Birkenstocks, which are basically fancy slippers. They've never met a sidewalk. And part of the FlyLady routine is wearing the shoes. And for me, it helps my feet so much to have that support. So do what you want, wear what you want. But in Canada, we don't normally wear shoes inside. Anywho, the principle behind getting dressed properly before you start the day is sound regardless of what is on your feet. Now, there's something about being ready that just changes how you move through the home. From there, the steps introduced are hot spots, doing a 5-minute room rescue, the 27 fling boogie, 15 minutes of gathering rubbish, morning, evening routine, swish and swipe, all of these things that you do over a few days. Now the steps accumulate, but FlyLady is very clear that you're not expected to perform every part of the full system immediately. That is one of the things that I really love about her is she's very, very forgiving. Is that the right word? Gracious. And if I get anything wrong, please, it's complicated. Let me know in the comments. It's not for everybody, but a lot of people really like it. So the point of this is just to gradually build up the habits, one thing at a time, which is exactly how habits form, not through huge overhauls on a motivated Saturday, but through small, consistent actions repeated until they become automatic. And this is the progress and not perfection that she talks about in action. And I will let you know how I feel about perfectionism later. It's not good. The before bed routine. FlyLady sees the evening routine as the beginning of the following day. And I say yes to that. A typical FlyLady before bed routine includes, now get ready for this, cleaning up after dinner, loading or running the dishwasher, clearing one or more hot spots, which is a theme, checking tomorrow's calendar, deciding what's happening for dinner tomorrow, laying out tomorrow's clothes, placing anything you need to take with you on your launch pad, taking care of personal hygiene, and going to bed at a reasonable time. Now, a lot of these things we would normally do anyway. It's just sort of in list form, which might make it seem longer than it really is. But again, if you're one of those people that really likes those bumpers up when you go bowling, this might be for you. But then there's the sink. The shiny sink is FlyLady's most famous habit, and honestly, one of the most genuinely clever starting points in any home management system I have come across. And I want to explore this a little deeper. The instruction is simple. Go to bed with a clean kitchen sink. Empty, clean, dry, and shiny. That's it. Not the whole kitchen, not the counters or the stovetop or inside of the microwave. Just the sink. So the psychology behind it is actually pretty smart, and I love that she chose this area. One visibly finished area changes how you feel about the whole space. You wake up to something clean, done, something that tells you that the day is starting from a place of order rather than chaos. And that feeling, that one small finished thing, just has a way of making everything else feel more manageable. Like, we're gonna be okay. And I really do like cleaning my sink. I use Barkeeper's Friend or baking soda with a little soap. It just takes like 30 seconds. And the difference between a clean, shiny sink and a sink full of last night's dishes, it's not just visual, it's psychological. That's my cat scratching at the window. One point of contention in my love affair with sink cleaning, FlyLady once did mention that you could use turtle wax on your sink. And when I mentioned this in a video like 6 years ago, the ire that it caused, people were like, she never said that. She did. She said it in a blog post. I think she was just talking about just like how into it you can get. And I appreciate that. I just don't think I'll ever get to that point where I'm like waxing my sink. But hey, you can do what works for you. The launch pad is another piece of the evening routine worth circling around just a little bit. It is a designated spot near your exit where everything that needs to leave the house tomorrow lives tonight. So keys, bag, library book you've been meaning to return for weeks, all of that is good. Now I'll put things here on this bench or hanging here, and it's so nice because you have that peace of mind and you're not like thinking in your head, okay, I gotta remember this and this and this, or having to make a list. You just have it ready to go. You know what comes after night? That's right, morning. This routine builds on what you set up the night before, which is the whole point of the evening routine. So a typical FlyLady morning includes, brace yourself, yes, making the bed, getting fully dressed, including your shoes and your hair and your face, and completing a swish and swipe, emptying the dishwasher, checking the calendar, checking what's planned for dinner, starting or rebooting the laundry, clearing a hot spot, breakfast, medications, drinking water, all of the things. If you're getting overwhelmed, stand by, there's hope. Now, we need to talk about the swish and swipe quickly. It deserves its own moment. And I love this one. And really, it just makes me think of Diane in Denmark because she talks about it a lot. This is quick daily bathroom maintenance. You swish the toilet quickly, you swipe the sink, the counter, the mirror, whenever needed, the exterior of the toilet. It's not a deep clean. We're not scrubbing. It's just maintenance that prevents the bathroom from ever reaching the point where it requires a major rescue operation. FlyLady recommends keeping the cloth and a brush in the bathroom so you don't get distracted while searching for supplies. I'm not kind of exactly sure what kind of brush she means, but maybe like a toothbrush for the fine areas, but then that would be deep cleaning. Anyway, I keep spray, I keep paper towel, I keep a cloth and toilet cleaner as well. And this is like my closed loop principle that I've talked about in my videos in action, because everything needed is close by. So right where the loop lives, you can open the loop and close it. The bed gets made because FlyLady described it as a bedroom's equivalent of a shiny sink. One large visually finished area that changes how the whole room feels. And I couldn't agree more. Now, the afternoon routine is the most flexible piece of the system. And FlyLady is explicit that it should be customized to fit your actual life, which, phew, is a relief, because if you're working, you have a lot of other things going on, you're like, what? Like, we're doing it again? We just did the morning and now it's the afternoon. This typically covers the transition between work, school, and dinner. You're emptying the lunch boxes, school papers, rebooting the laundry, starting dinner, doing a quick pickup, checking the calendar, many things. You're clearing a hot spot, of course. The key here, of course, could be the dinner question, because she suggests thinking about, like she talks about doing it like the night before or the morning at 10 a.m. or definitely by the afternoon. And I do think this is handy. I do, because there are times where I don't know what we're having for dinner and it really does stress me out. The daily habits. These are the habits that keep the visible parts of the house functioning between the deeper cleaning sessions. Pretty much what I covered for morning and evening, but it also involves decluttering for 15 minutes using a timer. Now, the timer is really important to FlyLady. It creates a clear stopping point and it prevents a small job from turning into an exhausting marathon. And she emphasizes that beginners can even divide the 15 minutes into 5-minute sessions, although I'm sure anybody could. And I will share my honest take on the timer in a moment, but the principle of a defined stopping point is pretty helpful, especially for people who tend toward the crash and burn pattern of doing everything at once and then doing nothing for 2 weeks. So FlyLady has several decluttering approaches worth knowing, and I love decluttering, so let's talk about it. The 27 fling boogie, which is finding 27 items to throw away, give away, or put away. The number is specific enough to feel achievable and large enough to make a visible difference. The name is pretty delightful, honestly. There's another one, which is the 5-minute room rescue, where you choose a particularly messy area, you set a timer for 5 minutes, and you improve it without attempting to finish the entire room. The hotspot fire drill, which is 2 minutes on a clutter collecting surface before the fire spreads and becomes a permanent fixture. And the do it now principle, which I like. Very small jobs get completed when noticed rather than repeatedly postponed. Replacing the toilet roll, or returning something to its place. Dealing with your simple piece of paperwork, collapsing your Amazon boxes. I love that. Now the next feature is the weekly home blessing. And this is an hour and a whole house cleaning session. Traditionally completed on Monday, but I won't tell anyone if you decide to do it on a Thursday either. 7 tasks, approximately 10-ish minutes each. First, gathering household trash, changing bed sheets, dusting the home, cleaning windows, indoors and obvious glass, clearing hot spots, vacuuming the middles of the floor, and quickly mopping the kitchen and the bathroom floors, which if I think about my house, that is a lot to fit in, 60 to 70 minutes. Now, vacuuming the middles means exactly that. You don't move the furniture, you don't detail the edges, you don't turn this thing into a 3-hour project. You're just vacuuming the middle of the room and then you move on. The home blessing can be completed in one session. You can split it across the day. I know other people who divide it amongst several days. Other people will divide it amongst family members, or you can just break it into one daily task. The goal is just a generally presentable home, not a perfectly detailed one. This is maintenance, not performance. And don't worry, there's no test. But wait, there's more. The 5 zones. Now the home is divided into 5 zones that rotate through the calendar month. Zone 1 is the entrance, front porch, dining room. And you're supposed to sort of do that during the first part of the first week. Sometimes there's like that little half week. I don't know what you do when it starts on a Sunday. Zone 2 is the kitchen, which is usually the first full week. Zone 3 is the main bathroom and one additional room, usually the second full week. Zone 4 is the main bedroom, usually the third full week. And Zone 5 is the living room during the partial week. You're spending about 15 minutes a day in the current zone. When the room is still cluttered, you're going to actually focus on decluttering, removing trash, putting things away, donating excess, doing a fling 27 where you're getting rid of 27 things. Once the clutter is under control, you begin detailed cleaning from the room's cleaning list. And her point in waiting to do the actual deep cleaning is because you can't properly clean around clutter, which I love, and you know this is true. Decluttering always comes first. Detailed cleaning comes later, which is something I often talk about in the Mighty Method because I believe you cannot deep clean, you cannot organize until you have gotten rid of your stuff. There are also daily missions, which are small weekday tasks connected to the current zone. And this all goes in a book I'll talk about later. Clearing under the bed, cleaning one refrigerator shelf, tossing expired toiletries, dusting a plant. Who knew you had to dust plants? Wiping bathroom counters. These are the jobs that would otherwise become part of a giant spring cleaning project, but throughout the year, instead of saved up for one massive exhausting event. And this is the meaning behind FlyLady's claim that you should never ever have to spring clean. The detailed, gradual work happens just bit by bit. By the time you've cycled through all 5 zones, the whole house has received attention. The basic weekly plan. So each day of the week has a general theme for its recurring jobs. So they don't all land on Saturday. So Sunday is Renew Your Spirit Day, which for me would be going to church. For others, it's just rest, reflection. It still is like self-care, whatever restores you. I still do think this is like a family day. We'll get more to that in a minute. Monday is weekly home blessings. Tuesday is free day, though older FlyLady materials call it plan and play day. So it really is just whatever, because FlyLady understands that it's a lot and you might need a day to catch up. Oh, and Monday is also laundry day. Wednesday is anti-procrastination day. And I really like this one because I need a reminder not to procrastinate every now and then. So this is where we tackle the job you've been postponing, phone calls, complete the form that you need to do, sew on a button, make an appointment, return the item, deal with the repair. Wednesdays are just that day where you deal with those things that you've been procrastinating, and I love it. Thursday is errand day. So we're grouping things together. Groceries, appointments, library trips, returns together instead of making separate trips throughout the week. And Friday, I really like, which is clean out the car day. Whoever thought of that? Having a designated day for cleaning out the car. I guess FlyLady did. Bookkeeping, making room for an enjoyable evening. It's great. And then Saturday is family fun day, which is one of her most underrated ideas because the rest of the routine is what kind of keeps your Saturday free and it helps you to hang out with your family. I also like it as a Sabbath day for myself. I've been doing that for over a year, and basically that just means like doing whatever I kind of want that is, you know, with family, relaxing. I will garden, I will cook because I don't see those as chores. The control journal. So if you're getting overwhelmed, and I would not blame you if you were, Marla recommends making a control journal, a binder or a notebook containing everything needed to run the household. So when I was doing the FlyLady routine, I found that this was really helpful. I actually just used like a notebook and I wrote out the routines and I thought it was really great. I put out, you know, the morning before bed, zone schedule, menu ideas. And again, you can find all of this on her website. And I think it's all for free to download. There's the book. I think there's more than one book actually. I haven't checked for a while. Apps, all of it. It's so good for keeping track of everything. Now, cleaning routines are nothing new. When I first did my Clean Mama video years ago, people were like, no, there were these ladies from the 80s. Oh, no, it goes back further than that. And before I give you my honest take, I need to just let you know a little bit about this. So I've done videos on hospital cleaning systems, on Victoria nurse cleaning systems, historical home management, like the 1950s. It goes way, way back. Structured cleaning routines have been done for centuries. The idea of a morning routine, an evening reset, rotating zones of attention, daily maintenance, none of this is new. People have been managing their homes with systems for a long time. But what FlyLady did was she took those principles and she gave them names. She gave them personality, she made them accessible, and delivered them to millions of people who were drowning in the chaos and didn't know where to start. And the packaging actually matters because the best system is the one where people actually follow. And a perfect system that sits in a binder unread is not helping anybody, but an imperfect one that actually helps somebody change is helpful. Okay, here's my honest take. What I genuinely love, I really, really like the baby steps. This is how great habits form. One new habit a day. And if I didn't mention it before, it's like you do the sink clean and then you do the next habit the next day and then you do the next three. Like it's like you're building on, you're doing them every day. The gradual layering approach, it's psychologically sound and practically effective. The shiny sink as a starting point, I mean, you know I love that. And not all of the baby steps, I don't love all of them, but a few of them I really like. And I think that, to be honest, like when Marla was making this, she made it based on like the things that she liked, especially like within her culture and family and whatever. And I think that's great. I love progress, not perfection. A lot of people know how I feel about perfection. I think it was invented by the devil and it is the enemy of done. It also is just impossible for humans. So why try to be perfect? FlyLady builds the antidote to perfectionism directly into the foundation of her system, and that is worth celebrating. I think it's a really well done thing. I love decluttering before organizing or deep cleaning. I do this myself in my own mighty method in our mighty circle because you can't clean around clutter. You need to get it out of there. You can't organize clutter. Clutter has to go first. FlyLady understands this, and she built it into her zones from the beginning. Consistency over intensity. This is the whole game, not one heroic cleaning session per month. Small, consistent habits every day. The house never gets bad because it doesn't need a rescue because the maintenance is always happening. I also really like her finally loving yourself as the philosophy. Home care as self-care rather than punishment. This is one of the things that I actually say in my own membership is just to like listen to things, you know, podcasts, see it as an enjoyable thing to do. And your home should support you is something I always say, let your home be your medicine and not your poison. I also really like the Saturday protection. Family fun day, it's underrated wisdom. And I think, you know, back when my kids were younger, I wish that I spent a little less time worrying about things and a little more recognizing they were going to move out one day. So if your daily habits are working, Saturday doesn't need to be a cleaning marathon and you can protect it. Here's what gives me pause. It's a complicated routine. And I want to be really honest about that because I talk to a lot of people who get completely stuck in the research phase in a lot of things. And with FlyLady, that could definitely happen. And then you never start. The system is interesting. The vocabulary is fun. Setting up the control journal might feel like a fun, almost like scrapbooky kind of project. And before you know it, you have spent 3 weeks learning about FlyLady without really doing a lot. And this is clearly a labor of love of Marla's, and I think it's great. Now, when I did this routine, I found that it was helpful to not be a person that worked out of the home. And at that time, when I was using it, I did work out of the home some of the time. So the days when I was here, I was able to do it, but I would definitely say like my house was very clean, but at the same time, it just took a lot of time, and the learning in and of itself was a challenge. The other thing is the timer and stopping when it rings. Now I get this as a principle, and I think it's so good for those people who will crash and burn, or for those type of people who need to just know like the end to see the finish line for something. And like sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna work out, but I'm only gonna do one round or whatever. And sometimes I only do one round and that's okay. But sometimes you want to do more rounds, and I like that. Because personally, if I'm on a roll, I like the momentum of a task that's going well. Stopping mid-tasks because the timer went off, it can feel really disruptive more than helpful. And a lot of people in my Mighty Circle, they talk about how when they're on a roll, like they love, all of a sudden they're like, I cleaned my whole closet. And I often do say like break things up, but sometimes we don't, and that's okay. So it's personal preference. If the timer works for you, use it. Another one is not to pull out more than you can put away in about an hour. And I totally get what she is trying to prevent, the half-finished project that makes the house worse before it gets better. And I think that's great. I almost want to dial it back a little more because for me, I find it hard to judge in practice what I can deal with in an hour. I also feel like an hour is a lot to commit sometimes. So I prefer just working in one space, like the container method that Dana K. White talks about, one drawer, one shelf, whatever. Before, you know, pulling it all out, I like to just do one thing. And that's one of the things a lot of people in the membership, my membership that we talk about, and in other areas where people are like, like I don't like the Marie Kondo method because I pull it all out and then I'm tired and I'm overwhelmed and now everything's worse. I also feel like when she says, don't worry if you fall behind and jump back in, I love that advice. I just feel like because the system is so complicated, I mean, of course, she would say that because that would make so much sense. But at the same time, there are so many of us, and this is why I'm saying this system isn't for everybody, but for some. But there's so many of us who are like, but now where did I leave off? And we can't help but try to do it right, even though we're trying to like battle perfectionism. But if you're the type of person that wants like a rigid routine and you feel comfort in that, I think that's good. But I still think that my friend Ariel's routine at That Awkward Mom is simpler and more sustainable and easier to implement for most people. Because FlyLady, hers is a full home management philosophy, but Ariel's routine is practical cleaning system because she took like a bunch of routines and she put them all together, and she spent like a year on it. I remember when she was doing it, and I think it's really great. Because sometimes you just want to clean, you don't need a full home management approach, and that's why I like Ariel's approach. If FlyLady speaks to you, this philosophy is super awesome. The system has helped millions of people borrow what works. If you're feeling overwhelmed, this is a lot. I need something simpler, especially on the decluttering side. The next video is for you. My Mighty method focuses on specifically decluttering, which FlyLady, of course, has said comes first. In my system, we talk about triage, simplify, organize, and thrive. It's a much simpler framework for getting rid of that extra stuff. And I go into my routine right here. I hope something great happens for you today. Please like, subscribe, give us a hype. Stay tidy and mighty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.